So we are live, and I'm going to go ahead and show you what we're going to be working on. Here is the image. This image is from North Idaho, out on the Packed River. It is a landscape scene. That's what we're going to be doing today. Make it easy and fun. And if we look at the image, we can see that there are several parts to the pieces. There's the background piece, there's the foreground, middle ground, actually with the river going through it, and then there's the foreground, which is down at the bottom. You'll notice that the bottom part of the canvas has the has the aspen trees with the shadows coming towards us, so it's the thing that's closest to the viewer, as if you were standing here. And then as you progressively go up the canvas, then you notice, thank you for all the hearts and the blessings. You guys are awesome. Okay, and then also you'll notice that we're going to break it up into pieces. We'll just go ahead and break the canvas itself up into simple pieces, and then we will fill them in. We're just going to set this piece aside, this visual. Shouldn't put that there. I'll put that right there so that you can kind of see it while we're looking at it. Okay, we're going to get our brushes wet. Once again, we're using flat brushes. These are nice flat brushes. They have a nice spring to them. You can go ahead and get these either on my website or online. I can direct you where to get them. But they're really, really nice brushes. Basically, it's the shape that you're going for instead of the round. The rounds are nice, but these are even better. So we got our brush nice and wet. Now, if your brush at any point in time gets too much water in it, you can actually just use a towel and set the brush right on it, and it will suck out most of the water. You don't want a lot of water in there, only because you don't want the drippy situation. You want to be able to get some nice paint on there without too much drip. You'll notice that also that the canvas is laying down flat. This makes it a lot easier. Also, this form of painting is just a system. I have many books on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, and it's basically teaching you a system. Hey Doug, how's it going? This is teaching you a system of painting without the math, without lines of horizon, without grid systems, without vanishing points. It's so much easier to learn how to paint this way. So all of the books are designed that way, because some people find it too much of a struggle and they just want to paint. They just want to enjoy the process. So what we're going to do is we're just going to start off with a nice watery paint. I'm going to use a little tiny bit of an ochre. You can kind of see that in there, and make mostly water and a dot of the color. And we're first going to break up the canvas. Super easy way to do. And we'll first put that background line, and that's this line right up in here. We have to start breaking up the canvas, and then we'll put this line down here to put that second forest. We have to make room for the river. I'll go ahead and sort of describe it where the trees are. You can kind of see it. Remember, this is watery paint. And then I'll put these trees here just to help start breaking up the canvas. Now look at what we've already done. We put a background piece. We put a little bit coming closer to the viewer. Now we're going to go ahead and start dividing up where that river goes. And we'll just put a nice swoopy line. See how that nice line shows you where the river is going to go. Now we still have some mountains back there. You can kind of see the mountains back there. But before those mountains, we have these trees, these foliage of the trees. Now look at what I just did. I put some mountains and then the river. However, because of the canvas size, now I did this on purpose, I want you to see that what if I started to put my trees and I wanted to put it lower on the page? You'd be like, dude, it's so messed up. What am I going to do? Well, I'm going to show you what you're going to do. First of all, you're going to go get yourself a glass of wine, and then you're going to take a wet rag and wipe it off. Now, I did that on purpose so that you can see how easy it is to correct a mistake that you make on a canvas with watery paint. Voila. So many people have this idea that the brush blends that you touch on the canvas cannot be moved. I'm here to tell you that Move them all you want. You know, you don't have to stay permanent in anything, including that bad boyfriend or girlfriend. Make a move and do it quick. Now look at that. We could do it again and again and again. So you want to make sure that you're comfortable with erasing and starting again, erasing and starting again. Because what if you decided you wanted to add something or change something or shift something? You always want to feel comfortable with that. So let's go and start with a different puzzle piece. Say, oh, I'm running out of space on my canvas, and every single time if you do it once, there's a really good likelihood. Hey Debbie, how are you? Thank you for watching. If there's a really good likelihood that you'll make the same mistake again, and I showed you how to, you make the lines and you can completely erase them off, but if you make those same lines, there's a good chance you'll do the same thing. So start with a different puzzle piece. Let's start with this upper foliage and just save a space for it. We are just using watery paint to save a space for this foliage of the trees, of the aspen trees. Now, it can get bigger or larger depending on how I come down the line or up the line, but at least now I know I've saved the space. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to save a space for those mountains. Can you see those mountain ranges? I'm going to use a little tiny bit of purple, watery purple, mostly paint and a dot of color, so it's, you can barely see it in the brush, but I'm going to start the mountains just under that foliage and just do a nice up and down all the way across. Not getting super specific, just leaving us, describing that puzzle piece, giving us something to go from. Remember, these lines, as I just showed you 2 minutes ago, can be completely erased if I wanted to and start again. That right there is a huge learning curve. You will catapult your learning on painting by being able to know that you can, hey Peggy, how's it going? Woohoo! You can make changes so much easier than you think. You do not want to think that you have to be permanent in anything. As long as if you're not comfortable with it, just take it right over. You could even be painting. You could even be painting for about 20 minutes and literally pick up this whole canvas and take it right over to the kitchen sink and scrub it off and start again. You want to get used to being able to make changes. Now we're going to go ahead and put that set of trees that's in the very far background. We're just going to save a space for it. I'm trying to make it in green. I normally wouldn't make it in green. Let's make it in a little bit of an ochre, so that you can see it a little bit better. And I'm going up and down, and I'm just saving that spot, saving a space on the canvas for that set of trees right back there. We're starting, a lot of times you start with the thing that's furthest away and then you move closer to the thing that's closer to the viewer. And that means that the things that are at the top of the canvas, the sky, for example, is the furthest away, and then we're skipping the foliage of the trees, and then the mountains, and then the trees. So let's go ahead and make that second set of trees, which is right here, right there, and we'll go ahead and make those. And now we want to make it look like it's overlapping this one just a little bit, because overlapping, probably one of the most overlooked keys of perspective. Once you add it, it really tricks the eye into seeing some distance. Now you look, we have the background trees, we have the foreground trees. We're going to bring this background trees down just a little tiny bit, bring it down so that we're going to have some overlapping here. We purposely added that overlapping because we're trying to trick the eye into seeing distance. Now we added the tree foliage, the mountains. Now we're going to go ahead and add this foreground piece. This foreground piece helps describe where the river is. This is actually up on the Packed River. Beautiful, beautiful area, and the Packed River is like really, really windy, so this is just one area. Okay, let's go ahead and start off up in this area, and we'll put a nice swoop, because the river usually has a nice swoop. See how easy that was? And once again, I'm going to show you that in case you didn't see the very beginning of the video. This is a little bit of a wet rag, but what if I didn't like that? I'm like, oh dude, it's not working out, I'm not seeing it. Okay, that's all right, to go ahead and erase it. A wet rag with acrylic paint is better than an eraser, so get used to wiping out lines. Most artists, like you guys, learn that you put it on, you move it around, you put it on, you move it around, you put on the paint and then you move it around. We're putting it on and then we move it around, and that may mean taking it off in addition to making it look better. In painting, the easiest thing about painting is to trust your eyes. Your eyes know better than you. Even if you were looking at a picture and you're like, it doesn't look like the picture, that's all right. It's not gonna look like the picture because your canvas may be different than the picture size. There may be parts that are off of the picture that you really want to add to the picture. So you're going to be shifting and adjusting according to what looks good to your eye. Now, if you look at that, we have already added all the puzzle pieces except for the 3 aspen trees in the front and a little bit of the shadows. Let's go ahead and just put a purple. I'm going to exaggerate it a little bit. I'm going to use purple to show you so that you want your eye to see it, because it's so much simpler if you can let your eye start to see the image. So we'll go ahead and we'll put 3 dots down here where we're going to put the aspen tree. 1 right there, 1 right there, 1 right there. Those are where the aspen trees are going to land, but let's go ahead and put them straight up. Can you see now where the aspen trees are going to go? 1, 2, I'm going to add some more of that purplish. It's more like a violet. Now these don't have to be aspen trees. They could be anything that you want them to be. I just decided to use aspen trees because I just sold this painting and went down to Texas. I'm hearing that people in Texas aren't listening to the quarantine and they're all out on the streets partying, and I thought, well, that is the Western America. Okay, so now we have 3 aspen trees in the front and all of that background. Look at how these aspen trees are overlapping all of that background, and it tricks the eye into seeing that. Now, I drew those so that your eye could see them, but 90% of the time we're going to paint right over those trees. But when you're first starting a painting, you want to see all the puzzle pieces. Let your eyes see them. This is a good spot where if you were unsure about, say you were doing a painting, something totally different, you would draw all the pieces out there and let your eye look at it. Is there something that I wanted to add? Did I want to put the trees on the side? Let your eye look at it. This is a good time to go get a glass of wine, a beer, or a cup of tea and let your eye look at it. Try not to think about it, just let your eye see it. Okay, well, let's go ahead, and I want your eye to see one more thing, because shadows are one of the keys of perspective. Let's see the shadows of these trees. Let's put it as if it went off this way, and this one comes down, and this one goes off. Can you see where we now just grounded the trees by adding a shadow? When you add shadows, it makes things look like they're no longer floating in midair, they've landed on the ground. Perfect, perfect. Okay, well, now that we have all the puzzle pieces in just a matter of minutes, and you'll notice that in my books, I describe and start every single one of my paintings the exact same way. I first figure out where all the puzzle pieces are. And this is a different way of painting than the way most people paint. The reason why it works for me and so many people who have ever struggled with perspective or want to learn painting a really, really quick way, not try and make a big deal about it, but just want to start the process and have their paintings look good, is to break up the canvas. In my books that are on Amazon, every single one of the lessons starts off like this. We take the canvas and we break it into pieces so that the eye can start to see it. So by doing this process, I've made it super, super easy so that now that you have all the pieces broken up, you can fill them in and focus on the blending process. The blending process is actually why most painters paint. It's a boatload of fun. But imagine trying to figure out, this is a sky puzzle piece up here. Imagine trying to figure out where to stop and start and go around the trees while trying to fill that in with a nice blend. You would be focusing on 2 things at the same time, which is great if you can do that, but it's even better if you can just focus on one piece at a time. So what we're going to do is blend in the pieces now that we have them all figured out. We're going to blend, start by working with the thing that's the furthest away, and that is the sky. And we're going to go ahead and fill in the sky with a 2-part blend. You'll notice I just put a little bit of white. Oops, there's a little bit. Nope, it's pure white. we're going to put a little bit of white, and I'm going to put a dash, just a dash of blue. See that blue? I put a dot of blue on there. If it's not dark enough, you can add more. If it's too dark, you can add more white. So we're going to put a dash of that blue in with the white, and we're going to fill in this top puzzle piece. We already talked about the importance of breaking up the canvas to begin. And let's go ahead and look at that. Beautiful blue and a little bit of white, but now it's a little bit dark. So I'm going to go ahead and take that already blended brush, leave that whole shindig in there, and add some more of that white. And go ahead and continue to use that blue by touching that blue and blending it. I can go around those aspen trees, but I'm not going to, because I'm all about let's make things fun and easy. I'm going to go right over them. I touched the yellow just a little bit, didn't mean to do that, but no worries. Remember, even at this point, I could use a towel and wipe out pieces that I didn't like. The other beautiful thing about acrylics is that besides being able to wipe things out, I can overlap them or outweigh other paints. So if I didn't like this blue sky and I'm like, oh, dude, it turned out to this or that, I could come back after a few minutes of blending it out and blend right on top of it, because acrylic paint dries fairly flat once the water runs out. Now look at that, simple sky. I went over the aspen trees, no problemo, and on this foliage. Now look at, we also have some more sky right down below this foliage. This is the foliage, that's the foliage right there. There's a little bit of sky back there. I'm pretty sure you can see it, but just a little bit of sky right there between that mountain and the foliage. That is further back than the mountains. The sky is further than the mountains. We want to paint the things the furthest away first. So I'm going to fill my brush once again with white. There's still all that other color in there. I'm going to touch a dash of that blue, scotia of it in there, just a teeny bit. And I'm going to fill in, staying above the mountains and below that foliage piece. I'm touching other colors, but I'm not too worried about it. And because I want things to be super easy, I'm going to paint right over those aspen trees. I know they're still there. They're going to show up here and there and guide me again. I mostly put that there so that my eye could see where the trees were, and now I'm blending it. This is a two-part blend. Two colors in the brush at the same time, and because I mapped out the piece ahead of time, super easy, one of the best ways to learn how to start painting. I mapped it out ahead. Now I'm just filling in that piece. Now there is a thing called mud in painting, and that happens when you take one color and continue to blend it until it turns into one solid color. So I'll show you what that looks like. Be really simple, because it's not really a fair term. So now here, look, I just put some white on there, well, mostly white, and I put some blue. Now look at what happens when I blend those two colors together. I have a nice variety of color, but look at what happens if I continue to blend them and blend them and blend them and blend them. It turns into a solid color. That is what they're calling mud. But however, that's not a fair term, because that's still pretty. And I've seen thousands of people do that and think, oh no, it doesn't look good. Yes, it still looks good, because you, as the professional person you are liking it because your eye says it looks pretty. I've seen so many people blend the whole painting out to a soft pastel and have it look absolutely beautiful. Continue to blend it until you get that action back. Okay, so then let's go back to our painting and continue to blend the sky. Continue to blend all of that down that. Hello, Dominique. Hello, Marie, Marianne, Susie, Jenny, Thomas, Christopher, Alan, Lejean, all the way from India. Fantastic. Australia. Yeah, you guys are having fun. You're painting. Okay, so now we filled in both of the pieces. Let's fill in those mountains. Hey, Carrie, how's it going? I didn't get to do your class, but I want to. Okay, I'm not super good at yoga, but I like it. Okay, so let's describe the mountain piece. Okay, here's the mountain piece. we're going to use a little bit of purple and a little bit of brown. There, see, both those colors are in the brush at the same time. I'm going to go up one side and down the other. I'm going to go right over those aspen trees again. And then I'm going to go ahead and fill it in. I'm going to fill in that puzzle piece, going down one side, down the other, down one side, down the other. I have now filled in that whole puzzle piece called the mountains. Now we want to add some interest to that, so we're going to take some white and we're going to start it, we'll just start with that one, and we'll add some streaks of white. The mountains actually, I'll just show you, the mountains actually, just to give you an example, go down this side, all down this side, all down this side, and then down the center. That's how a mountain range generally works. However, you don't have to stick with that. You can actually break it up a little tiny bit here and there, because like rocks and things, so we could bounce it around. And we bounce it right around here and there. There you go, here and there. And touching the top of that. Now look at what happens, because we want overlapping. If I bring this mountain range down in front of that one, I bring this one down in front of that one, and now I have overlapped the mountains. Really easy, with just a little bit of purple, a little bit of brown, and some on top to accelerate them. Okay, so now, and make them look alive and moving, just moving a little tiny bit. Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to take this puzzle piece and this puzzle piece, which are the trees, and we're going to put a little tiny bit of green. Now I'm going to go once again right over the aspen trees. I'm just laying in some green. I got to have some paint on there in order to have something to blend with, so I'm putting in a little bit of that green. Now that top part of that tree is literally just an up and down motion with a nice flat brush. I'm going to load the brush with a little bit of lemon and a little bit of that lime green, and I'm going to bounce it up and down all the way across. Look at what happens. Now I still have that gap between the mountains and the trees, so I need to come a little bit higher. I want to cover up that range of the mountains. I want to look like the mountains are behind. So now these are on top of that mountain range, and I'm going to touch this dark green. I'm going to put some more of that dark green down there. Down in there. Once again, now look at what happened. I have overlapping trees. I have the distant trees, and then I have the lime green trees. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the exact same thing so that you can see it. You can see it right here. We'll first lay in some color, going right over the aspens. No big deal. Woohoo, no big deal. Laying in some nice color. And then I'm going to clean out my brush, and I'm going to put some lemon and lime right on top. I'll put that nice on top, and I'm going to bounce it, go up and down. See, I'm going up and down with the brush. Now see that gap between the mountains and the trees? I have to get that gap to match up with the on top of those mountains so that we have some overlapping. So I'll bring these trees and make them bigger. When you come down the canvas, subjects get bigger in size. Okay, so the things that are biggest in these trees will definitely be bigger than these trees inside, because they are closer to you. If you walk outside and look at any tree, the tree that's further away from you will look smaller inside than the tree that's closer to you. So it's a real easy tool of thumb to remember that the things that are closer down the canvas or further down the canvas are bigger in size, and the things that are further up the canvas are smaller in size. Now I'm going to add some more of that green on the bottom. I'm just for fun going to add a little bit of that brown. We'll just add a little bit here and there, and now I'm going to take that and start the bouncing, going up and down. Up and down, up and down. There you go. No big deal. Not trying to get super specific. up and down, still adding a few here and there, maybe some trees that are coming from the distance with that same brush here and there, going up and down. Now I have created, hey Bob Gherkin, how's it going? Woohoo, Bob Gherkin, I'm going to come visit you, I don't know when. I'm going to come hang out in your neck of the woods. Either that or we're going to go down to Texas where nobody's abiding to the quarantine and they're all out in the streets having car races. That's I got pictures yesterday of real car races right down the center of Dallas, Texas, and that's where we're going. Okay, so now we have two sets of trees. We have a nice river. Let's go ahead and start filling in that river. And we're going to fill it in with some pretty blue. And we're going to use, because the river is flat, if I were to put my hands on it, it would be flat in nature. We're going to use flat brush blends. If you remember when we did the trees, we were going up and down. When we do the mountains, we go up one side, down the other. So on the river, we're going to go ahead and do flat brush blends. If you're ever unsure about which direction a brush blend should go in, hello. Hello, Bob. How are things up in Mariposa, California? That's where Bob Gherkin's from. Butterfly Creek. Woohoo, Butterfly Creek. That's where we all go to relax. There is something good about relaxation. Make sure you guys are all relaxing as much as possible. Okay, nice flat brush blends. Now, check it out. We have a nice river, but because our river is super awesome, we're going to leave all that blue in the brush and we're going to touch the white. Very teeny tiny bit of white in there. And we're going to add some streaks through the river. Little tiny streaks. Little flat S's. And it makes it look like the river is flowing. Flowing rivers, flowing rivers. Isn't that a John Denver song? Flowing, flowing. Maybe it should be a John Denver song. Okay, so we now have some pretty easygoing river and some background. Now we're going to fill in this foreground. We're still going around the aspen trees. We'll go ahead and fill in the foreground. This foreground is higher up than this. This foreground, if it's like a field, we'll just hit it, and we're going to add a little bit of this lighter lemon yellow. Check that out. Nice. I'm going to use a touch of white just to break it up, because I know that a lot of times, even when we're blending in foregrounds, they have some variations. Even if you were looking at a yellow field, there would still be variations in the yellow. So we filled in that background with just a little bit of yellow, and then we added a little bit of that white on top of it just to break it up. Now we're going to fill in the very, 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 very bottom of the painting, and I'm going to use that same ochre, filling it all the way in. Nice blend. Bloop, 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 bloop. Nice blend, back and forth, back and forth. And so we have to have some paint on there in order to have something to blend with. Yes. Now we fill it in. And let's add some interest to it with a little tiny bit of white. Those little dashes of white as if it is grass. Little tiny bit of grass here and there. Here and there. Oh yeah. There you go, a little bit of grass here and there. So now we have filled in almost the whole thing. We still have that yellow in the brush, so let's go ahead and fill in the foliage in the sky. The trees we can kind of see, they're still there, but we have to fill in this piece. So what we're going to do is we're going to touch that yellow again and fill it in. We're going to add, because this is part of the foreground piece, we're going to add some interest to it, or some little leaves to it. But first we have to have something to build up on it. We have to have some sort of a build up. There we go. A nice build up. So we're going to start the build up with that. Now if we look back here at this mountain range back there, I can see that some of it needs to be filled in. There's small gaps in there. where the canvas is still showing through, I'm going to go ahead and start filling those in using a little bit of that same color. I can go back on top of it again with those trees, adding some interest once again to the mountains because all of that is possible. Wow, that was easy. Okay, now we have to add some shadows. Let's go ahead and add those shadows to the trees. 1, 2, 3, and bounce them around because I want them to blend in with that ground. And now we have to add the aspen trees. Those aspen trees can be added. Let's start with the center one. This is mostly pure clean white. We'll start with the center one and we'll go loosely on top, adding a nice layer of white. Nice layer of white. Here's one, here's another one. I'm letting those colors sort of blend in with it because the aspen trees could have some color that are bouncing off from the other colors, which is good. We'll touch that last one. We'll come over here and put some white. See how the white's pretty thick on the brush. And we go right over those because I'm going to put foliage on top of that, leaves and stuff on top of that. Okay, look at, gotta grab that thick white and keep moving it up the canvas. Okay, so we now have 3 aspen trees. Easy peasy. Those are 3 pretty thick. You'll notice that the white is pretty darn thick. Okay, so now what we're going to do, since we have those 3 trees, is we are going to touch the black. This is pure black. I'm going to roll it along the bottom of the aspen tree. Roll it along the bottom to give it a bottom. Not getting super specific, nothing too detailed. And then I'm going to add some here and there all along. Just a few. Now you notice I'll make the brush thick or thin. I'll make a few thin ones, a few thick ones. No problemo. Okay, once again, now we have some aspen trees. I'm going to add some more foliage to this foliage. That I just go ahead and start adding more. That's nice and thick already, soaking wet. I'm going to touch the orange just to add some interest. Now you see I'm going outside the lines a little bit and over the trees. Go outside the lines because there would be little tiny bits here and there outside the lines. Nothing too specific. Going over the trees here and there. Now those were the bottom ones. Say I wanted to add a little tiny bit of the lemon yellow and a little white on the top, because the darkest colors will be on the bottom, the lightest will be on the top. You can see I added a little bit of white to that, and I'm going to bounce it once again, going just outside the lines, because we know that the foliage would be there, but parts of those leaves would go just outside the line, here and there, here and there. Oh yeah. And going right over the aspen trees. Now look at what we did in just a short amount of time. We are rocking. There we go. Okay, very nice, very nice. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add some branches, come off and roll it around and drag it down a little bit and add some branches. Branches go a little curved, a little straight, a little curved, a little straight. Add maybe another one here, comes up higher, maybe one over here, comes down into the tree and rolls down a little bit. I'm going to add some more white on that one. Check it. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to come back to that foliage again, and we're going to add a little bit more of that interest. We're going to add a little bit of ochre. Look at that, little bit of ochre. Let's add a little bit of that sienna, just to darken it here and there. And in just a short amount of a scooch, we have painted a painting. Sign it and call her good, people. There you go. You finished. You're rocking. exceptional. All right, thank you, thank you, thank you, and you guys all have a super spectacular, wonderful, and auspicious day.